It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Conversations with Joan. Conversations with Joan will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life's Conversations with Joan. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. Conversations with Joan focuses on topics that are important to your life, from health and wellness to professional development to personal well-being. Change makers join me to share their insights, tips, and strategies so you can thrive and live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. Now, let's start talking. With constant demands on your time and attention, it's easy to neglect your romantic relationship. The spark may be gone and you may feel disconnected from each other. Today's guest, Carolyn Sharp, offers a solution for relationships that are struggling, feeling stale, or just in need of a little extra care. She joins us to talk about a process that can bring back the love, connection, and vitality to any romantic relationship. Carolyn is a couples therapist who helps people build vital, vibrant, and secure functioning relationships. She's the author of the book, Fire It Up, 4 Secrets to Reigniting Intimacy and Joy in Your Relationship. Welcome, Carolyn. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Joan.
So, Carolyn, what do you see happening in many relationships today that led you to write this book?
Well, I started thinking about this book and I started thinking about the program that led to this book back in 2020 when my practice went entirely virtual and couples were forced into 24/7 companionship and time together, which there were lots of people joking there are going to be lots of COVID babies. And I laughed ruefully and said, no, I don't think so, because being together 24/7 isn't all that romantic. Mm-hmm. It forced into the open a lot of challenges that couples had not paid attention to, kicked to the bottom of the pile. Everything got forced into attention in the pressure cooker that was the COVID, lockdown. And I saw couples needing to address issues that had simmered under the surface for years and years. And that is, as you said in your lead in, pretending everything is fine, neglecting it, letting it be to the bottom of the list. And what COVID brought to the surface was we are struggling because we aren't really accepting each other for who we are. We are not really communicating well. We are talking about things on the surface, but not really getting to the deep meaning of things. We aren't really clear about who we are as a couple, and we're not aligned about that. And so we're disagreeing about what we should and shouldn't do. And we are not tending to having fun in an intentional, playful, joyful way. We are expecting there to be a lot of intimacy and connection without doing the work necessary. So those are the top themes that I saw in couples as a result of the pandemic, and that led me to create a program to help couples, which then became the Fire It Up book.
I saw a lecture not too long ago, and in it the expert was talking about relationships. And he said, and he was really talking mostly to men, he said that when you're dating, you're really wooing the person. You're working hard. You're trying to get that person to fall in love with you, to want to be with you. And then once you select the person and they're all in, it's kind of like you think, okay, game over, won the prize. Now I can just sit back and be whoever I want to be. And what he was saying is really once the person commits to you, that's when the work begins. It's not like I have the person and this is it. And I think that's the mistake that so many people make. They treat a spouse or a significant other in a way that they don't treat their friends. I mean, they're nicer to strangers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My teacher and mentor and friend, Stan Tatkin, says you should never stop being each other's boyfriend and girlfriend, boyfriend or girlfriend, whichever the case may be. And I think that that is so true. I think that the Hollywood mythology of happily ever after really messes with our heads. Couples believe this idea that if it's meant to be, it shouldn't be work. If we are really each other's soulmates, it should be easy. And it's a really toxic idea that just falls flat. Nothing comes easily that is worth anything. We have to work at our job. We have to work at our health. We have to work at our hobbies. We have to practice things in life. And yet, we don't want to do that in our relationship. And so that is the number one problem that I see couples have, is taking their relationship for granted and expecting things out of it that they're not actually putting the attention and energy into. They're not making the effort to keep the spark, to keep the connection, to keep the intimacy. They're avoiding conversations. I don't want to talk about that now. And it's creating disconnection and a chasm that grows wider and wider with each avoided conversation and each, delayed connection point.
What are some of the warning signs that there may be a problem in your relationship?
I think feeling like roommates, feeling like business partners, feeling more like colleagues than connected, intimate partners is a bellwether. That is something that I hear a lot. Well, we're really great friends and we're committed to each other, but we just don't feel that attraction. Like I said a moment ago, avoiding conversations, I don't want to talk about it now, I'll talk about it later. If that is a persistent habit that you have, that's an indication that there's a problem. Pretending to yourself or to each other everything is fine, it's good enough. We get along, we don't fight. Are a few of the indicators that things are growing a little stale. Anytime we're going through the motions with each other, pretending to have fun when we're not, pretending to be into it when we're not, those are some of the clues that you need to wake things up and put a little bit more intentional effort into your relationship.
Do you think there are a lot of people living the way you just described? They're very unhappy, but they don't know what to do to fix it, or they don't have the strength to get out of it?
Yes, I think that there are way more people than want to acknowledge it. I don't know that I would call them all the way unhappy, because I hear from a lot of people, it's fine, it's good enough. But when they start digging in and when they start doing the work, they realize, wow, we have been living in this tepid relationship, in this okay relationship for years, when it could have been so much better. We could have had a richer, deeper connection, had more fun together if we put in a little bit of effort every day. So I do think that there are a lot of couples that are in worse shape than they realize that they're in, that are sort of their relationship is asleep. Mm-hmm. There's no vibrancy to it, but they're sort of used to it. So they feel okay until there comes a crisis. And that's what I was seeing in my couples practice, my therapy practice over and over, is couples would wait until there was a crisis, until someone had cheated on someone, until someone was fantasizing about, a divorce or living alone in a cabin in the woods. They waited until that point to come in and see someone, to seek help. And that's what I'm trying to prevent, is you're making it harder on yourself by waiting until there's a crisis. You can actually improve your relationship dramatically in these very simple, easy ways.
Well, I agree with what you had just described, because I'm a divorced woman, and I've met so many other divorced women. And again, this isn't just for women, but these women have said, I didn't even know there was a problem in our relationship. And then all of a sudden the husband was having an affair and they weren't communicating and they were blindsided. And so I can understand where if you avoid and you don't communicate, someone may step outside of the relationship and then, you just never saw it coming.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't want to make excuses for adultery, for cheating, because that is one way of coping with the distance. It's a choice someone makes to do that, but it is a big bell ring to, I'm unhappy in the relationship, when that is the cause of the affair. Couples also just shut down or dive fully into work or to parenting as another way of coping with the distance that has grown present in their relationship. So lots of people wake up, like that to a partner saying, I don't want to be married anymore. I want a divorce, and are totally blindsided. And that is what I'm trying to prevent, to have people check in with each other regularly, to check in and ask, how happy are you in the relationship? Mm-hmm. Am I meeting your needs here in the relationship? People think when I describe that as, am I meeting your needs, that I'm talking about all of your partner's needs, and I'm just talking about their relationship needs. But to have a regular check-in to say, how you doing here? Are we happy? Are we connected? Is there anything more I could do for you, in a mutual way, so that both people know where they're at in the relationship?
Once one person in the relationship has had their heart broken, has maybe been cheated on, mm-hmm. or whatever mm-hmm. the cause may be, mm-hmm. is it possible to ever truly trust that person again and move forward?
Absolutely. That is absolutely possible. I was sort of known in my practice in Seattle for a long time for taking the most crazy sort of Lifetime movie of the week type scenarios in couples, double families, prostitutes on board, affairs, all that sort of stuff, and helping them bring back health and connection. It's a long road, and the book Fired Up isn't really focused on affairs. There are others that have written many, many incredible guides to repairing broken trust in relationship. But it is absolutely possible. It's a lot of work, but it absolutely can be done. As long as both people, any problem in a relationship, short of violence, can be fixed, as long as both people want the relationship to be healthier and are willing to do their part, do their 50% of the work necessary to bring a relationship back to health.
So we've talked about the importance of communication in a relationship. How can mm-hmm. people who have stopped talking learn to reconnect? Mm-hmm. Do you have any strategies that you can offer?
Absolutely. One of the simplest things that I have all my couples do is eye gazing, where they are just for 3 breaths sitting facing each other in a relaxed eye gazing way, to breathe together for 30 seconds, a minute. The longer the better, but you don't have to do it for a long time. And lots of people have difficulty with eye contact, particularly when there's disconnection. And that's not a verbal form of communication, but it is a very powerful way of reconnecting. So that would be the first thing I would tell a couple who have grown disconnected and who aren't communicating, because we communicate more non-verbally than we communicate verbally. And typically when couples are not talking to each other, they're also not looking at each other. They're not noticing how their partner feels, whether they're happy, unhappy. They've stopped looking at each other and noticing the signs and signals that there might be something amiss. So eye gazing as the first step to start seeing each other is incredibly powerful. And then from there, I have a listening exercise in the book that walks through how to really listen to each other, because that is one of the skills, and I say skills very intentionally because listening is a practice that many, many of us were not taught how to do well. I'm a professional listener for a living, and even for me in my intimate relationships, in my connected relationships, meaning my good friends and my family members and most importantly, my partner, I'm not always a great listener, because when our emotions come on board, we start thinking of our response and we stop listening. And that is one of the first things that starts to go poorly in a disconnected relationship, is we stop really listening to each other deeply. And so practicing the listening exercise, the listening skill, is really powerful for your relationship. And I have couples, I call it low temperature topics to high temperature topics. I have them start on low temperature topics, meaning topics that don't carry a great degree of emotional weight to them. What do you want to eat for dinner? What movie should we watch? Et cetera, because then you can really listen to each other without having your nervous system start to rise up and react. And so by practicing listening to each other, you start to learn about each other, about non-essential topics. And then as you get good at it, you can start talking about things with more meaning and potency for your relationship. So those are the sort of first two things I have couples practice, and both of those couples find to be incredibly powerful. I just did a international couples retreat in Tuscany for a group of couples, and I had them every morning. They were doing eye contact, and the first morning everyone was squirmy and giggly and uncomfortable, and by the end they were all looking forward to and sinking into really deep connection. So it's a really powerful practice.
You mentioned that it's important for both people to be committed and do their part, but sometimes when one person in the relationship brings up therapy or doing this type of work, the other person laughs it off or says, I don't want any part of that. So what can the person who wants to save the relationship do if they're not getting the cooperation of their partner?
They have to get curious with their partner about why that is. What is it about working on the relationship that sounds scary, off-putting, distasteful, whatever is their experience? You have to get curious beyond the assumption you're making about why they don't want to. They don't love me, they might be assuming they don't love me, they don't want to do the work, they don't care enough, all that sort of stuff. And you have to get curious beyond that assumption to be really interested in your partner's experience. What is their assumption about what therapy or coaching or some program or retreat would be like? What are their objections to that, so that you can work with it, you can understand it? Because lots of couples stop there at, no, I don't want to. They roll their eyes and they walk away. And I say frequently to my couples, it's 50-50. Any dynamic in a relationship is 50-50. We are each contributing a part to it. And in that stalemate of, I want to go to therapy, I don't, both are participating in that stalemate. And the person suggesting therapy may be suggesting it in a way that is leading to the partner who is resisting it to feeling defensive, feeling like you want to go to therapy and tell me what a bad partner I am. You want to go to therapy and make me change. So the person that is suggesting it has to be curious about their partner's experience of that suggestion and look at, how am I asking? How am I suggesting this? Am I inviting it? Am I communicating, I love you so much, I'm so committed to you, and I really want us to have more than we have now. Let's go and have someone help us have more. I know I have my part to contribute, and I just want us to be closer. That sounds different from, we need to go to therapy. You need to go to therapy to me, on the heels of a fight. Oh, we need therapy. Well, now the partner that is resistant to it is feeling like, all right, you want another person in the room to tell me what a jerk I am.
Right.
And that may be why. So get curious and then think about what you're contributing to the dynamic of you wanting it and your partner not wanting it.
Well, that curiosity then helps you open the lines of communication and learn more about the other person, as opposed to, I want to do therapy, they say no, you say, well, you don't love me, and that's the end of that. And that's usually the dance that people have.
Yes, we fail to be curious and be interested in really learning about other people. We carry our assumptions, we carry our stories about others, and we stop being curious about what else is there. And that is one of the key parts of the fired up approach, is curiosity, is what can you learn about your partner and how can that learning help you deepen your connection to one another.
Mm-hmm. We have so many things going on in our society today, whether it be politics or finances or work-related stressors, and all of those things can come in and infiltrate our relationships. What advice do you offer to help us keep the outside world out of our relationships?
That's such a powerful question. You want to be the two of you connected deeply and create what Stan Tatkin calls it a bubble, but you want to create sort of an insulated home for your relationship where it is the two of you against the world. It's the two of you, not against, but the two of you in relationship to your children, to your hobbies, to your friends, to your jobs, so that those outside influences do not come between the two of you. And This is potently true right now culturally in the U.S., where the political divisions are so strong that those divisions are coming between couples. They're coming between people in their families, between people and their neighbors, et cetera, and learning how to form relationship based on mutual respect, curiosity, and connection is really powerful. For couples, it's finding the places where we have shared goals, we have shared agreements, we have a deep understanding of one another, and we're using that to create this insulated pod to protect us against all of the stressors from outside, whether those are financial or political or whatever it is, so that we are a unit together. And having those, shared ideals, shared purpose is really powerful to helping us, stay on the road together, stay connected together, because we know our relationship is for growth, it is for adventure, it is for creating community. If we stay connected to that purpose together, we will stay in power, in connection with each other, in health together.
The book is Fire It Up: 4 Secrets to Reigniting Intimacy and Joy in Your Relationship. Carolyn, if our listeners would like to learn more about you and your work, where can they go?
They can go to Instagram, where I am Secure Connections Coaching, TikTok, Secure Connections Coach, my website, which is, and this is where it gets a little confusing, secureconnectionsretreats.com, because I also run retreats. And they can find my book anywhere books are sold, Amazon or Barnes & Noble, or at their local independent bookshop.
Carolyn, in about 30 seconds or less, what is the takeaway? What would you like to leave our listeners with?
There would be 2 things. One would be not to take your relationship for granted, to remember that anything worth doing needs work. And the second would be to use curiosity, to lean in, and to recognize that the outcome is what you make it. You have to put in to get what you want.
Carolyn, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Joan. This was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that the information provided is the opinion of our guests and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, visit our website, CYACYL.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on the site, listen to past shows on demand, read our digital articles, and be sure to subscribe to our mailing list. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.